Sis, you cool, you cool. Sis, you cool. Soft heart, strong soul, still whole, still cold.
Hello, everybody. This is your girl, JusJas, and I want to welcome you to Sis You Cool. Now, before I get into anything, I just need you to sit with that question for a second. Not answer it, just sit with it. Sis, is you cool? And I don't mean I'm fine cool. I don't mean I got it together cool. I mean actually cool. Like at peace in your body, at peace in your relationships, not performing okay, but actually being okay. Because there is a difference, and you know that you already know it. Now, this show is for Black women who are doing the work, the real work, not the Instagram healing, not the good vibes only spiritual bypassing, the actual, sometimes ugly, sometimes hilarious, always necessary work of becoming who you are supposed to be. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am not your therapist. I am not your life coach. I'm just a woman who's been through some things and decided that instead of staying quiet about it, I was going to open my mouth. So let me introduce myself for real. Not the bio version, but the real version. My name is Jasmin Pressberry, and I am born in San Diego, California. But I don't know anything about California because my parents got on the move very quickly. My father was in the military. They, shortly after I was born, moved to Japan. They were stationed there for a little while, not a long while. My parents ended up separating, and my mother moved back to Chicago with me, where she met my father, who raised me. Um, which we'll talk about him more one day. We'll talk about my mom more one day. But from Chicago, after my parents were married in, was it 1988? September of 88, as a matter of fact. We relocated shortly after that to Georgia. So I was raised in Marietta, Georgia. So I am definitely a Georgia peach. I went to elementary, middle, and high school in Georgia, even though we did go back to Chicago for a hot second, and I did do some schooling in Chicago as well, South Side. Um, but Georgia's my home. I am the only child of my mother. I was raised in the household as an only child, but I actually am the oldest of five siblings on my father's side. And then I also had a stepsister and a stepbrother. Very interesting upbringing to be an only child, the oldest child, and then technically with my step siblings, the youngest child, all at the same time. Um, yeah, so spoiled either way you go. Um, I am the mother of one daughter. She is a sophomore slash junior, and I say that because she started her college experience while she was actually still in high school. So she's technically supposed to be entering her sophomore year of college, but she's one semester away from being a junior. Very proud of her. She's a psychology major, as a matter of fact. She wants to be a forensic psychologist. So yeah, someone watched a little bit too much of NCIS um, growing up, but hey, if it works for her, it works for her. I am a December Sag, December 11th, and I am considered a super Sag if you look at my astrological chart, if you're into that type of thing. I am, by definition from my therapist, a hyper independent woman who's learning or learning to not be so hyper independent. But that hyper independence actually made me very successful within my career. I am a master cosmetologist as well as cosmetology instructor. I took that career and catapulted it into many different ways. I've owned a couple of hair salons. I have also, let's see, I've been a program director for a wonderful school that unfortunately is closed down now, like many um, post-secondary schools are closing right now. But I also worked for Paul Mitchell, as well as I ended up going back to my alma mater to teach. I taught there for 5 years before I left. When I arrived, I actually arrived January of 2020. So 3 months after getting there, the world shut down. But during the pandemic, I actually used that time to start to build a licensing program for my students. And when we got back into the classroom, we were able to get that program up and running and approved. And my students started with me as freshmen, and when they graduated from high school, I was able to send them straight to state board to become licensed cosmetologists. So it was really, really dope time, but that portion of my life has come to an end, and we'll talk about kind of how that ended as you all get to know me more. Now, for me personally, I have not lived a perfect life, as no one has a perfect life, but I have lived a good life. And at 42 years old, I can tell you right now that my life, baby, is just starting. I am currently residing in Medellín, Colombia. How I landed here is a story within itself. I'm going to give you the condensed, quick version because a lot of things happened in a little bit of time. And you will learn about me. I move quick when it comes to everything, honey. Okay? So you can't see me, but you will one day. But I have been overweight or was overweight. Let me past tense that, baby, because mama done put in the work. But I was overweight since I was a small child. And when I say small child, that's kind of funny to me. But I would say about 8 or 9 years old. I'll never forget the look on my parents' face. They came back from Georgia to pick me up. I'd been staying with my grandmother for the summer. They walked in the house and it was like their jaws dropped. Like, who is this child? Let's just say that my grandmother never told me no. She loved to cook. She also used powdered milk. Does anybody remember powdered milk? Well, baby, that was disgusting, and I didn't like powdered milk. So she let me put vanilla ice cream in my cornflakes, which, if you've never tried it, it's delicious. Um, and the meals were plentiful, and I also really wasn't allowed to go outside and play because I was like the only little kid. So I basically sat up in the house and ate all the time with my grandmother, which, hey, it is what it is. And I blew up, and that weight never left me. And I actually used my weight as a shield. And we'll talk about that more in future episodes as well. But with that being said, back in October of 2022, I made the decision for myself that I wanted to do something about my weight. And this is, of course, after doing every weight loss thing that you could possibly think of, eating the Jenny Craig meals, doing Weight Watchers, trying Fin. Ooh, that was a horrible drug. Um, the dieting and ballooning up and down, and I just became over it. I had been on high blood pressure medication for almost 10 years, and then they had the nerve to tell me I was pre-diabetic. So I said, okay, I want to live a long life, so this is not going to work for me. So I actually decided to have weight loss surgery. So I did get the gastric sleeve June 1st of 2023. My heaviest weight when I graduated from high school, I was like 297 pounds. So you might as well say I was 300 pounds. So when I got the sleeve day of surgery, I was 287 pounds. And as of today, 3 years later, I am 176 pounds and feeling great, feeling good. For me, it's not even about the number on the scale. It's about how I feel in my body. And I'm honestly on a journey of self-discovery right now, because when you've been overweight your entire life, and then you're smaller, your mind limits you based upon what you know. So what I'm discovering every single day is that I have a new body, so I'm learning new things. Um, I can walk for longer. I can jog now without my knees feeling like they're going to pop out of the socket. I my stamina for everything is just different. So I'm constantly discovering. The other day, I literally hopped up on the counter in my kitchen, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can hop up on the counter." So it's this journey of self discovery that I'm on that's really really amazing. But we're gonna dive into in future episodes how I got to this point. The biggest thing is, how the hell did I get to Medellin, Colombia? Well, let's go back a little past a year ago. On July 3rd of 2024, I decided to get back into the things that I love doing, because remember, June 1st of 2023, I had my gastric sleeve surgery. And so a year later, I decided, I'm a school teacher, it's summertime, I'm going outside. So this was going to be my very first official hot girl summer. And so I ordered all of my cute little outfits from Shein, and I'm going outside. And I wanted to get back to the things that I love to do. And poetry was number one on my list, because growing up as a teenager, I wrote poetry about everything. I journaled about everything. I love to write. I love to read. Over the years, I got away from it, but I decided that, in my year of me, 2024 was my year of me. I'm going outside, and so I went to a poetry night. And I had gone to this poetry night a couple of times before, but this particular night, there was a guy sitting. He says I was sitting in his seat. I say he was sitting in my seat. But either way, we were sitting on the same side of the bar. He actually got up to do a poem out of his book, and which was entitled. Well, it was the book was about butterflies. I don't want to kind of say too much about them. But when he sat back down, I have a big butterfly tattoo on my shoulder, and so we kind of sparked up a conversation. He, mentioned my tattoo. And of course, I was like, well, I'm just not one of those chicks that gets a butterfly tattoo just for it. It actually has meaning. And I started talking about metamorphosis and how you're in the cocoon and all of that good stuff. And so we were on the same wavelength, and it was really, really good conversation. And so we exchanged numbers that night. Kind of him and hawed, more hemming on my part, more hemming and hawing on my part. I'll just be honest. But we did end up going out on a date. And fast forward to, we ended up engaged in November of 2024. So we met July 3rd, 2024. And by Thanksgiving Day, we were engaged. It was a whirlwind. We were extremely happy, extremely in love. And we got married the following summer, June 21st of 2025. Now, 2025 was a very, very, very busy year. My daughter graduated from my alma mater, which I was still a teacher there, so I was able to give her her diploma. But then I also resigned because my soon-to-be husband and I decided that after we got married that we were going to be relocating out of the country. That was actually one of his things. He had come to Colombia previously. He fell in love with the country, and he was like, hey, I plan on going back. So what we doing? And I'm like, well, shit, we going to Colombia. I was ready for a new chapter of life. I had just won Teacher of the Year the school year before, and I'm not gonna lie, that was the beginning of my burnout. We're gonna talk about that, because ooh, child, let me tell you, there is nothing worse than being celebrated by your peers while simultaneously feeling like you don't do enough. That is the weirdest shit ever, and we'll talk about that. So yeah, there was that. I was burnt out. I was ready for a change. I always wanted to travel. Hell, I'm a Sagittarius. I'm adventurous. So I was like, let's go. Let's go start this new life as newlyweds. We relocated. Well, let me slow down. We dropped my daughter off to college. Her first official year on campus. We dropped her off in August, and then September 27th of 2025, we got on a plane and we came to Medellín, Colombia. And we really had a good time. From, I would say, I was completely happy from the time we got here until January. January for me is when it started to shift. And I will say that I did not realize the shift. I knew inside that I did not feel right. I knew inside that I wasn't happy with what was transpiring within our relationship. But I also knew that we had a lot of stressors. We were in a new country. We were living off of one single income, which was his income. We were discovering things and trying to build a business together, because that was the plan. We were going to come to Colombia. We were going to build a business together, build a brand together, and live our life, you know. And I was honestly thinking that a lot of stuff that was going on was just the stresses of everyday life. So I was trying to, pivot, adjust, ignore, do what I do, make things better. But a lot of things started to come to a head, and things were revealed. And I'm not gonna, like, he didn't cheat on me, he didn't do anything like that, but just the person that I thought I knew was not that person. And I chose to choose myself. And that was the hardest decision that I ever had to make, because I waited until my 40s to get married because I wanted to do it one time. But what I saw transpiring within my marriage, I knew that if this is how we were at the beginning, this shit wasn't going to get no better. So, what was best was for us to separate. Now, originally, when I left, I just wanted to separate. I wanted to take some time so we could recalibrate, figure out what was going on, get some counseling individually, and then eventually as a couple. Like, in my mind, this is what was going to happen. But when I decided to step away, um, I don't know if it was a trigger for him or what, but the person who showed up was not someone that I would ever want to continue to be in a relationship with. So the decision was kind of made for me. But again, do I think he's a good guy? I do. Do I love him? Absolutely. But do I want to be married to him? No, I do not. And that's okay. And I don't feel bad about it. Like, I was tried to be made to feel bad about it, but I don't. Um, and that's okay too. But of course, we're going to unpack a lot of that over these next 12 episodes, or the next 11 episodes, since this is episode 1. But anyway, so now, I am in Colombia. I have to completely start over. And remember, we moved here just on his income. So I am now working a 9 to 5 job that, of course, I don't love, but it pays the bills because I have to pay the bills. And I'm rebuilding my life from scratch, figuring out who I am now in this season, and making the pivot of adjusting to the life that I thought that I was about to be living as a married woman, to now being a single woman, and then coming to terms with how I got here. So yeah, that has within itself been a journey. Now, in the midst of all of the chaos, a lot of beautiful things did happen while we were here in Colombia, which is why I'm even sitting here talking to you all today, because Sis Is You Cool is a poem that I wrote, and I wrote it honestly because, long story short, he got into some mess with a woman here in Colombia. Um, we were doing business with a venue, and at that particular venue, there had been some chaos and confusion that we had nothing to do with. Okay, we weren't even there. We didn't even really talk to the people who owned the venue. This was a situation that happened between this woman and the venue, and it affected a lot of people. And understandably, she was upset about what happened. Well, when you're in other countries, WhatsApp is the way that we communicate everything. So we're in this WhatsApp group, and my husband posted about an event that we had coming up at this venue. And she immediately posted underneath our post, where are we doing Super Bowl at this year? And then she said, not the venue. So I was like, okay, that wasn't necessary. Like, everybody in this group knows that you don't mess with that venue. So the fact that you put that underneath our post, to me, felt like an unnecessary dig. So I sent her a private message and said, hey, I said a lot, but I said it nicely, professionally, cool. Like, hey, I understand that you have beef with this venue. Nobody in the group would have suggested the venue to you. So therefore, I'm going to ask, because we're doing business with this venue, that you kind of chill out. Because the thing about the WhatsApp groups is this: allow people join the groups every single day. So, and when you join the group, you don't necessarily get all of the history, and you're not going to go back to all of the messages. So all of the drama that had gone on with that venue had started to die down. So to me, for you to do that was disrespectful. Like, I understand that you don't mess with the venue. It's a lot of places that I don't mess with, but guess what? I don't go to them. I don't talk to them, but I'm not going to continuously dig. And to me, it came across as a dig. So I reacted to the dig, but I felt as though I reacted maturely, responsibly, but she didn't take it that way. So her response to me was not a very nice response. Okay. So I'm like, all right, at this point, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. We can just choose. And then, of course, her response is, well, you don't want to go back and forth because you're not getting the response that you wanted. You know what? You got it, sis. I'm going to leave it alone. Okay. Now, I left it alone. My husband, on the other hand, did not. And so he had a tendency to jump into the Facebook groups, saying, oh, not Facebook, but the WhatsApp group, saying way too much, doing way too much. When I would see it, I would ask him not to do it. I would ask him to delete things, but apparently there was more going on than I knew, because I don't spend my time in the WhatsApp groups. I just don't do it. So it turned into a much bigger situation. And I'm going to be honest, because I honestly feel like she attacked me more because I'm the woman, which that made sense, because my thing with him was, why are you going back and forth with a woman? She went on the attack with me, and she drugged me for filth in the WhatsApp groups. And you know what? Not once did I reply. But what I did do was pick up my pen and start writing, because I was mad. But I was the type of mad where I'm not going to go back and forth with you. One, I really don't even know you like that, but I'm not going back and forth with you. But I am going to take your behavior and I'm going to channel it, and I am going to write about it. So I wrote about it. The funny thing is, the poem that I wrote at the time was very fitting in my mind for the situation, with it unbeknownst to me knowing what was coming next. So I was asking, sis, is you cool? Because your behavior is telling me that you're not cool. Is you cool? But then as my life started to unravel, I had to look in the mirror and ask myself, sis, you cool? Girl, because you was going through it. So what turned out, what came from that situation was a lot. It was the realization of my place within my own household, um, where my husband was within his journey, and how it did not align to where I was in mine. It also, a lot of beauty came from it as well, because I performed the piece at a spoken word night that we hosted that happened to be at that same venue. And the venue owner heard it, as well as the DJ and a couple of other people who were, some other people who were there. And it actually inspired a event to be created by the venue owner for Black women. So they ended up having actually two events from it. The first event was a brunch. It was a free brunch that was hosted for us, where we all came, we got together. I performed the piece, and we were able to talk just as women. We had a guest speaker. It was a really beautiful event, that was hosted, and it all was because of the poem. It got a conversation going. So, and then the next event ended up being a vendor showcase, and we had a speaker there about finances, and I mean, so a lot of good things and relationships were built that came from the chaos. And that's one thing that we do as Black women. We're going to make something out of nothing. And I love the fact that that tumultuous situation, it did a lot of things, because honestly, the fallout from that particular situation put a major microscope on my marriage for me. And it made me start to look at my husband very differently. And once I saw him through a different lens, things started to shift, even when I didn't realize that's what was happening. And that's the crazy thing about when a shift takes place, is the shift is happening and you don't even realize it. The things, the boundaries that I started to put up, the conversations that I stopped having, when I realized I'm repeating myself and I'm saying the same thing and we're having the exact same argument over and over again. I'm done arguing. And if anybody knows anything about a Sagittarius, baby, once we go quiet, you better ask somebody. So, that entire situation really catapulted a lot of different things. Now, the concept and the idea for a podcast, when people heard the poem, that was the first thing they said: you need to do a podcast. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is so good. Da-da-da-da. My thing is, you have to be ready to do certain things. And in that season, because my life was turmoil, and again, me not even realizing that I wasn't happy, because I was just bandaging and moving forward. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be in honeymoon bliss. We're still in the first few months of our marriage. We just got married in June. It ain't even been a year yet. Child, we didn't even make it to our first anniversary. I left May 27th. No, March 27th. March 27th. And our anniversary would have been June 21st. So we didn't even make it to our first year anniversary. Which that was, oh God, that hurt. That hurt. Oh my God, it hurt. But, 'tis life. But I chose me, and I will never feel bad for choosing me, even when they tried to make me feel bad. So anyway, one thing I will say to that woman, and we had a sit down conversation, all of us, which again, that sit down conversation was very tumultuous because of him. And I walked away. Yeah, I think mentally that was the day that I checked out of our marriage, if I'm being honest. And again, I did not realize it at the time. And when I say checked out, that was the day that I knew this shit probably wasn't gonna work. Now, was I trying my hardest to make it work? Absolutely. But it was just like the more I tried to make it work, the more he was like, no. And I'm like, I can't keep battling you, bruh. So we had to do what we had to do. Well, I had to do what I had to do. But I will say that I am extremely grateful, and I have said this to him. I'm grateful that he gave me Medellín, because living in Colombia was never on my bingo card. My thing was, I'm going to retire to Jamaica. I love Jamaica. That's my place. I didn't think about anywhere in South America, honestly. And I'm now preparing myself to tour South America. I want to spend all of 2027, not backpacking. Let me stop lying. I ain't putting on nobody's backpack, but you know what I mean. I want to bounce around South America, spend a couple of months here, a couple of months there, for the entire year, and just discover. And yes, I am working on my Spanish. I can understand a whole lot more than I can speak, but we gonna get there, sis. Don't judge. Okay. So, I pray that people get from my story, and as you get to know me and you learn more about me, that you're able to see that you never know what direction life is going to take you. And we all know what they say about plans, baby. Because, honey, this was not the plan. You couldn't have told me that less than a year from when I got married, I would be single again. Ain't I? Well, what? Huh? But I'm gonna sit single for a while, and I'm going to enjoy my life on my terms. Because when I really think about it, hell, when is the last time that I've just lived my life for me? Never. As a child, you're growing, you're learning, you're living, you're doing what your parents tell you to do. As a parent, you are making sure that your child is okay. As a spouse, you are making sure that your spouse is okay. But when are you actually just living your life for you? So now, at 42 years old, living in Medellín, Colombia, it is my turn to live my life on my terms. And a part of that is talking to you every week about what we're going through, because I know I'm not in this alone. And I will tell you, Colombia has given me a village of Black women who have loved on me, lifted me up in ways that are unimaginable. Women who just met me. And when I say just met me, most of these relationships from December, just December, some in January. I just met these women. When I left my husband, a woman opened her home to me, gave me somewhere to live, help me with money, because again, I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing when I left my husband. So only thing I had was my necessity and my desire for peace. And these women circled around me, through card parties, so that we can just decompress, and I could just feel loved on. And I mean, I have really just seen the power of Black women. Now, don't get it twisted. Back in the States, I got a crew that is the bomb.com. Okay. Love my girls, and my crew I've always had a small crew. My homegirl Tawana, we've been friends since high school. My homegirl Shar, we've been friends. My daughter's 19 now, so let's see. I couldn't stand her the first year of my daughter's life because she was my child's daycare provider, and my baby liked her more than she liked me. That was a whole thing. We'll talk about that one day. So I would say me and her have been really, really tight friends for at least about 17 years. And then my homegirl, Shaterica, we have been friends since college. Went to Alabama A&M together. So I have long lasting friendships that have really served me so beautifully. And to come to a whole nother country and find those types of connections all over again. And I still talk to my crew. And it's funny, in WhatsApp, I got one group that's called The Crew. That's my girls in the States. And then I got the Colombian crew. That's my girls here. So women, we are always finding each other, loving on each other, uplifting each other. And that's what this podcast is all about. That's what Sis You Cool is about. I want to make sure that you cool. And some days I'm going to ask the question and I might not be cool, but I am going to tell you the truth about what's going on. So the village that I found here, they covered me. I want to cover you. We're going to cover each other and we're going to talk about it. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm a 42-year-old woman rebuilding her life on a new continent after a marriage that moved at the speed of light and ended at the speed of truth. I'm not broken, I'm not bitter, and I'm not behind. I'm just in the middle of it. And I think that that's okay. Now, every episode this season is going to go deep on one of the questions that the poem, my poem, Sis Is You Cool, was already asking. We're not going to talk about the armor we carry. I'm saying we're going to talk about the armor we carry, the accountability we avoid, the love we give to everyone but ourselves, and the peace we keep saying we want but stay too busy to actually build. I want you to come back. I want you to bring somebody. I want you to share this with the friends who need it and the friend who doesn't think that she does. At the end of every episode, I'm going to ask you one question. Now, you don't have to answer it out loud. Just take it with you. Today's question: are you surviving out loud or are you actually living? Sis, you cool? I'll see you next week.
Sis, you cool.